If you work more than one job, maybe for two different employers, maybe for a different employer and for yourself, and they each have 401ks, what's your contribution limit? Can you contribute to both? How do you coordinate that? I've got 3 scenarios that help you understand that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. When you are working for one employer, you've got one job, you've got a 401k through that employer, contributing to it, and those rules are simple. Yeah, well, you would think so. They've gotten more complicated recently with the changes in the catch-up contribution and some of the Secure Act 2.0 changes, where if you're high income and depending on how much you earned, you have to do Roth for your catch-up. But it's gotten more complicated. Those are more choices, so work with your certified financial planner on that. But for the most part, when you're working one job and that employer has a 401k, it's fairly straightforward. What gets more complicated is what if you have two jobs? What if you're working two different jobs, maybe at the same time, depending on your situation? Maybe you're young and you're not married, you don't have any kids, and you're just hustling, right? Maybe you've got your main hustle, maybe you've got a side hustle. How does it work if you've got multiple employers with multiple retirement plans? Does this mean you can contribute the maximum to both? You can really kind of game the system and contribute a lot? How's that work? Well, we're gonna skim the waves here. We're not gonna go super deep, but I do wanna illustrate how this works in 3 fairly common scenarios if this situation is happening. So the first one is just on the surface. You're working for 2 different employers. They each have a 401k. And that contribution limit, can you make a maximum contribution to each of them? Or if they each offer a company match, can you contribute to both, or are there strict rules against this? Well, in this situation, there's no real gaming of the system. 401ks, the maximum amount that you can contribute to your 401ks is something called the 402G limit, which this is the maximum contribution limit that's published by the IRS every single year. For 2024, that contribution limit was $23,000 if you're younger than age 50. And if you're age 50 or older, you can also do a catch-up contribution of $7,500. And so most often when people think, well, I'm working for 2 employers and I've got this extra cash flow or whatnot, I want to be able to contribute to both 401ks. Can I do $23,000 to both plans? You cannot. You cannot. That 402G limit, that contribution limit, that's for pre-tax contributions and Roth contributions, it is a aggregate limit. That's the total amount that you can contribute to either plan or both plans, okay, combined. Now, if you are working for 2 employers and they're each offering a company match, you definitely want to do what's necessary to get the full company match from both. And I suppose there's a scenario, if you're high wage earner, where you're contributing enough to get the match in each, and in doing so, you could end up contributing more than that $23,000 or $30,500 limit. And therefore, you just need to optimize to figure out how can you get the maximum match and still hit that overarching cap. The other thing is in this scenario, you've got to be watchful for it, because what you're contributing to the 401k through one employer, they're not able to see that at the other employer. So who's responsible for that? You are. And if you aren't managing that and show up to do your taxes, that's going to be an error that you're going to need to fix, and fixing it will get a little bit messy. But 2 employers, each with their own 401k, the shared contribution limit is that $23,000 and plus another $7,500 if you're age 50 or older. Second scenario, very similar to the first, actually got this question recently, which sort of sparked this idea for this content. I've got 2 employers. One offers a 401k, but the other offers a different plan. It's something called a simple IRA. And this would be fairly common. 401ks traditionally in the past, they've been for larger organizations because they require a little bit more administration and some expense. Simple IRAs used to be for just smaller employees or employers, less than 100 employees. Very simple to set up, not as much administration, not as much cost. Those rules that use case has shifted recently. 401ks have gotten a lot easier to administer. This is no longer the case, but maybe if you have your primary job, but you're helping out a small business, you might have a 401k with one and a simple IRA with other. That's the scenario where you might think, oh, okay, I bet because these are different types of plans, I bet I can contribute the maximum to each. No, even across plans, unless it's a 457B plan, there's a shared 402G limit. I know that's really, really geeky, but basically you can't contribute more to the simple IRA than its contribution limit, okay, $16,000 in change for 2024. And the maximum for both your 401k and simple IRA is the higher of the two 402G limits, which is that $23,000, because the 401k contribution limit is higher than the simple. So you can still contribute to both plans. You can still do what's necessary to get the full company match in both, but you can't, between both of those plans, both employers, you can't contribute more than that $23,000 plus the $7,500 if you're age 50 or older. All right, final scenario, and this one gets more complicated, and I'm going to do a lot more content on this as well in the future. But going back to, you've got two employers, each with a 401k. But what if one of those employers is you? What if you are working for someone, working for a job, working for an employer, they've got a 401k, but then you've got your own side hustle and you want to open a retirement plan for yourself, a solo 401k or a single K as we call it. Can you do that? And then, because it's your own business, can you actually game the system in some way? Well, this is no different than the first scenario in that both plans or all three plans or whatever it is, they're going to have the same 402G limit. You cannot contribute more than that $23,000 plus $7,500 if you're age 50 or older to all plans except for a 457B. That's something separate. But each plan, what I didn't mention in that first scenario is each plan has its own 415 limit. Oh, we're getting really into jargon, guys. Sorry about that. But I've shared with you before when teaching this mega backdoor Roth IRA concept that when you hear about the maximum that you can contribute to a 401k, you're thinking of that 402G limit, although you never think about those terms, the $23,000 plus the $7,500. And that's the shared contribution limit for pre-tax contributions and Roth contributions. But if your plan allows for profit share, if your plan allows for after-tax contributions, you can actually contribute above and beyond those limits, where the maximum between what you contribute and what the employer contributes through profit share, through match, all that sort of stuff, has a different limit. And that limit is $69,000 plus another $7,500 if you're age 50 or older. That's the 24 limit. It's going to go up $500 for next year. So that's the overall limit. So here's the thing. You can contribute between the two plans up to that $23,000 limit, but then in either plan, you can actually contribute after tax or get profit sharing or whatever up to $69,000. So here's the idea, here's the strategy. If you're self-employed and you've got a lot of cash flow coming in, you contribute the full $23,000 to your employer provided plan, but then you contribute up to $69,000 to your own solo 401k after tax. And then those dollars can then be converted over to your Roth IRA growing tax-free. There isn't a way to game the system to double the amount of pre-tax or Roth contributions that you make, but there is a way to contribute even more to your retirement accounts when you have multiple employers, and you have the most control over that when you're the small business owner for maybe a side hustle. So in any of these scenarios, all of them, these are financial planning concepts, these are financial planning decisions. Obviously, take into consideration your cash flow, your tax strategy, your investment strategy, your retirement plan. Lots to consider. This is a financial planning decision where there is some creativity that needs to be applied. So work with your certified financial planner on that. I hope that's helped, but that's no substitute for doing comprehensive financial planning with your CFP. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.